Okay, Ellie, tell me about how close the musical is to the actual movie. Is it very similar? Is it totally different? What?
It is very, very similar. All the iconic outfits, all the iconic lines, the jokes, they're all in there. If you love the movie, you will love the musical.
So when you're preparing for this, do you have to do some of those beats? Do you have to have is there the moment where you open up the jewelry case and then it's like, and then she laughs? Is that in there like that? Or
It is. Chase and I, Chase who plays Edward, we have our own little bit with it where he'll never tell me the exact moment he closes it. So it's always different every night and it always actually gets me.
so is that okay as an actress? Do you say, okay, I get they want this, or do you say, well, wait a minute, I can create my own, moment?
That's a good question. I think there's a very strong reason why everybody loves the movie, and it's because Julia Roberts and Richard Gere really put themselves into the roles, and they created these iconic jokes and lines, and in order to portray the movie, you have to stay true to that to a degree, but it would be wrong for us to go about playing the roles as Julie Roberts and Richard Gere because then they're not seeing any sort of authentic character on stage. So what we have to do is find the characters that they created and find us within them.
So are you blonde in this, or are you?
I'm not. I'm like a redhead brunette.
So I mean, do you? I'm just curious. How do you? Where do you say I'm drawing the line here? I am not doing this, or I'm not. Do you see what I mean? I'm not
Um,
laughing like Julia Roberts because they want
yeah.
that.
Right. I can't laugh like Julia Roberts. I can't. The only thing I can do is I can look at the lines and go, okay, here's why she delivered it this way. She's trying to make a point about this. So how would I go about making that point in my own in my own voice, you know? And that's kind of how I went about um reading the script and working on the script and working with Chase.
Did you go back to the movie then and watch it before you started doing all your preparation?
I did for callbacks, but once I got the role, I didn't watch it again because I didn't want to become a carbon copy of Julie Roberts because I can never be Julie Roberts and that would only disappoint everybody, you know.
What did you think of her performance?
Oh, I love her. She's one of my favorites. Just her smile, she's great.
What did you find was the secret to the success? Because I mean, come on, she's playing a prostitute.
Yeah. I
And
think I think the secret to her success is that she doesn't play anything. Like she ends up in this situation that she's not happy with, but she doesn't make her character or her personality about anything, any outside circumstance in her life, you know? She ends up in this crazy, crazy, beautiful penthouse and it doesn't change the way she acts at all. So she is just authentically herself. And I think that's where everybody falls in love with her is that nothing changes her.
have you had those moments where you go to a store and they're snobby and kind of like,
Oh
so
yeah.
how do you deal with it?
Personally, as Ellie, um,
Yes, as you, I mean, are you like, okay, I'll walk away and then I'll be, okay, I'm good with this. Or do you confront them or what do you do?
I think it depends. I think if they're standoffish, I'll try to kill them with kindness. But I think if they're actively being rude to me, I'm like, okay, I just walk away and I just don't engage.
Good answer. That's a good answer. Um, this kind of role is so big.
Yeah.
At this point in your career, is it a good time to have that? Or do you say, oh, gee, I wish I could build to this?
Um, I don't know. There's good and bad about everything. I think it's like a dream come true where I've been doing theater all my life, but I've been auditioning since right after COVID and I haven't landed anything until this. So that was just like a culture shock, like diving in the deep end head first with my eyes closed backwards. Um, so it was a really great moment to be like, okay, like I can do this, like people see something in me. But it was also that other end of it. It took me months to finally feel comfortable because it was that feeling of imposter syndrome like why am I up here when there are so many people just as talented if not more talented than me not having as many lines or not having as many songs and I know that it doesn't always work that way like some people are better for certain roles regardless of talent but it that imposter syndrome of like why am I here you know took me a while to kick that it doesn't always go away 100% but It's gotten better.
How do you pace yourself? Because it is a demanding role.
Yeah, I think I just have to treat myself with kindness. I try not to like wake up at 9 a.m. and go, okay, is my voice there for the show tonight? It's gonna take hours for my voice to be okay for the show tonight, you know? And it as it should. I shouldn't wake up and be able to belt 6 songs in a row. I try to give myself grace where every once in a while a note doesn't come out perfect and I have to go, you know what? I have the rest of the show to sing every other note, you know. And I just try to lean on the fact that Chase is always there for me. He's such a great counterpart. Adam's always there for me. He's such a great counterpart. He plays Happy Man. And Ray, who plays Kit, is just so wonderful. I just have fun with them on stage, and I try to lean into that on the harder days, you know.
How old were you when you started belting?
Oh, I've always been a belter. I think I must have been like middle school when I started belting.
And is it because it's really fun to do, or is it because so many roles require it now?
I think it's both. I think I grew up with theater that only had um belting roles for women in like contemporary musical theater. And then as I became more aware of what theater was as an adult, I started dipping my toes in soprano. I'm not a soprano, but I work on it because it's fun. But it definitely is just something I grew up around that I enjoyed, and it wasn't necessary for a very long time to be a soprano.
I saw too, there was a video of you singing in a restaurant. Is it like Ellen's in New York, where that Ellen's Diner where they walk around and you're eating, and it was it
Yeah.
like that?
It was. It's called Gail's Broadway Rose. I was there for the beginning of it, when they first just rented out the top floor of a diner in Times Square. They've now relocated to a different restaurant. I don't know which one, but I stopped once I left college. But yeah, we would serve tables and we would sing our songs. It was so much fun.
But how is that when you're trying to, I want you to look at me, but they're eating?
Yeah, it was a little uncomfortable when people didn't know what they were getting themselves into, and they were like, "Oh, this is like a performance," and they're looking me dead in the eyes. But it was just kind of like fun, you know, when you're on stage, you're like, okay, these are the beats I have to take, these are the acting choices I have to make. But when you're just like fooling around with somebody in an audience, you find like a different interpretation sometimes, you know, where you're just like having fun and you take their straw or you do something like that, and it helps find something new in the song, I think is really fun.
Do they teach these things in school? You know, how do I retain the attention of a diner?
No, that was never part of my training. That was just kind of like, okay, there's usually, let's say, 300 to 1,000 people in an audience that are watching me. How do I get them to stay interested? And then it became like, if I'm not on stage and I'm not in costume, how do I act to keep them interested?
Is that tough?
It is, but it's fun. It's a nice challenge. It helps me find more depth in what I'm saying and what I'm doing.
I see now that they're asking people to like seal up their phones um, for Cabaret, the new Cabaret that's coming to Broadway. And
Uh-huh.
you're thinking, oh man, are they that like married to their phone that
You
they
have to
need to
seal up.
look at it all the time, or they're recording something? How do you deal with those things?
Um, it is frustrating sometimes. There are at least every show 3 or 4 alarms that go off, phone alarms, like like volume up phone alarms. And I don't think anybody intends for that to happen. Nobody, and I'm sure that there's embarrassment on their side, whatever. That's fine. Mistakes happen. But it is frustrating every once in a while when it's a silent moment. It's important. Then you hear do 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 do, like all right, but there's nothing you can do besides move forward, you know? So I just try to stay in the moment as much as possible, or I kind of water off a duck's back and go, okay, reminder, there's an audience out there. Let's keep going.
You don't do a Patty LaPone and say, shut that off, right?
I think people wouldn't like Vivian anymore if I did that.
I suddenly lose the character somewhere here. I can't do those things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You also have done television, right?
I did. I had a quick little scene in the show Bull on CBS.
What did that teach you?
Um, that taught me, I feel like I've always felt comfortable as like a physical actor, especially with comedy. And I think acting on camera, there's not so much physicality, it's very still. And I think it helped challenge me a lot with, okay, what does my voice sound like? Like, how am I delivering the line vocally? Or like, where are my eyes darting to when I'm thinking about things? And I think that was a really cool challenge to just sit there with a camera like this and go, how do I just talk with my face?
Yeah, I once interviewed Laura Benanti, and she said,
Really?
yeah, and she was so worried that she said, when I went to do television, I thought I was going to be just all over the place and really
Yeah,
broad. And she said, and then I ended up being really stiff because I was so worried I wasn't going to say anything. And she said, it's a whole different world, a whole different set of tricks that you need to learn.
it is. It feels more like real life, like talking. And it was a good challenge because every once in a while when you're on stage, you'll say something like, "Oh, my mom used to work for this." But on stage, you'll go, "Yeah, my mom, yeah, she used to work for this." And you put so much emphasis, but when you're person to person this far away, you go, "Yeah, my mom used to work for this." And it's just almost like a throwaway. But it
Throwaway,
makes it
yeah.
more real and honest in terms of like a close-up camera.
Well,
It's
and I'd
weird.
be worried about blinking too much, where
Yeah.
I can't blink because they don't want me to, all
Yeah.
those little tricks that you don't think about when you're on stage.
They talk about too, and I didn't have to deal with this because my close-up was kind of like a monologue. I was standing on a trial far away from people. Not far away, but like I wasn't like a close-up. But they say if you're doing a close-up with a person like inches away, you should look at one eyeball because the camera will catch you going like side to side like this to each
Oh,
eye.
sure. Almost like
Isn't
you're
that
reading
weird?
cue cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing. And I was on a set of some show and I won't name it, but they had huge television screens with the words on it. And I thought, they're not even memorizing. They're just
Whoa.
reading this.
I couldn't do that. I don't think I'd be able to. I think in the moment I'd be like, and then the
Right. Oh,
ballroom.
I'd be like moving my head all the way
Yeah.
around. And I thought, wow, it must take some kind of a different kind of talents
Yeah.
set to do
Yeah.
those kinds of things. Okay, with this, how long are you uh, hooked up with Pretty Women? How long will you be doing it?
Our last show is May 19th, but our opening night was October 1st. So it's about a 7-month tour.
Has
Just
it been a real experience, or, how do you look back on it?
um only with gratitude and love for this show. I think it's really easy to slip away with this is my first gig. I wonder what else is out there. I'm so excited. But like I think there's so much grace you give yourself looking back on the past that like I'm trying to give myself now where it's like this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. This is such an amazing role and such an amazing show and I feel so lucky that I love the cast so much. And it's just fun and even though our schedule has been a little bit crazy, it's it's really wonderful to get on a bus for a 7-hour drive and know that like the people around me are gonna goof off with me before we do a show that night at 8, like it makes all of it a little bit easier.
What's the one thing we don't realize when we do see something like this?
Um, it there's a lot. I think like for an opening night show, there's a lot of we do a sound check where we sing kind of the entire show beforehand, so our voices are a little tired. There are some shows where it's one night only, meaning that we drove 7 hours into the show. So if we're a little tired or we're a little slow or we're talking too fast, it's all just like based on what our days look like. Or like weekends where a Saturday night seems like it should be the best show. We just had a Friday night show and a Saturday night matinee. So within 24 hours, it's our third show. And
Wow.
it's hard to give ourselves grace when I know that it's impossible for the audience to give us that grace when they don't know that. And
Sure.
also we want to give the audience the best performance we possibly can.
So how do you get yourself psyched up before a show?
Caffeine. Lots of caffeine.
It's a good answer, right?
We're all Celsius addicts. We all have a Celsius before every single show. They're good.
Well, see, you could be the official spokespersons, right?
Yeah. Sponsor me.
Then when you get in that red dress, what is that like?
It feels surreal. And because I mean, we've all had that moment when we dress up to the nines and we feel really pretty, but we still feel like ourselves. So it almost feels like you're not wearing the iconic outfit. You're just kind of you in a really pretty dress, you know? So sometimes I'll go on stage and I'm like, this feels very weird. But there's sometimes I go on stage and I'm like, this dress is so pretty.
Now,
Yeah.
when you get it up close, is it a lot different? You go, oh, this is so heavy, or this is so whatever.
Um, no, everything is kind of designed for the stage. So there's little rigs in certain things like quick zippers, or my shoes are all quick rigs so they latch on in like a really quick way. They're not like loops or whatever. So everything's very comfortable on stage, which is kind of nice. The
There
wigs are
haven't been any, have there been problems where something didn't quite go as it should?
there's a really funny story actually. It's not my story. My understudy, Bethany McDonald, she went on for me in Reno because I was sick. And there was a problem during a quick change where the thigh-high boots got stuck on her fishnets. And she was on like 10 seconds late, but they couldn't get them back on, so they just ripped them off of her. And she went on for the rest of the act barefoot. Like when she goes into the store to like get changed into the pretty outfit, she goes into the store barefoot. It is so funny.
It's a
She loves it. She
choice,
loves that story.
right? It's a choice.
Yeah.
That's what we do. Okay, so May comes, then what happens after May?
The world is my oyster, I guess.
Have you started auditioning for things, or do you say I have to wait until?
I have started auditioning for things because audition season now is kind of setting up for fall shows. So the auditions that I'm taking now would never make me leave Pretty Woman. It would be for like fall, September,
Right.
maybe August.
Would you tour again?
Absolutely.
It is,
I think with the right show, you know.
but living out of a suitcase, is that easy?
No, it's really hard, and it's hard. I feel like I spent so many years in the city building such a strong chosen family and a strong home that it is really, really hard to see all my friends hanging out and go, I miss them so much, you know. And my family at home too. I mean, I know I wasn't living at home, but being so far away from them all the time is hard. But it's an adventure. I mean, what other time in my life will I really feel like this is a good time to do this? I feel like any later down the line, I'll feel like it's always going to be a bad time, you know?
Do you get a chance to like sightsee when you're in all these places or not?
Yeah, we were actually really lucky. We were in Chicago for St. Patty's Day, so we all went out Saturday morning and watched the river turn green. So we've been really lucky with some cool places. We're in Salt Lake City right now for a whole week, which is wonderful. I actually came a couple days early with Chase and we skied Park City, which was so much fun.
Oh, you're a
Yeah,
skier.
I am a skier.
And they allow you to do this in case you might break a leg?
I I don't think I would get workers' comp if I got hurt.
How do we explain the cast, right?
Yeah, but I'm like, I have one thigh-high boot on and one cast. Do you want to sign it?
Would you like me to be barefoot? It could happen, right? Well, how great though, how fun. Were you working during the pandemic or how did that fall? Were you in school at the time?
I was in school. I did have a job and an apartment lined up that I would keep after college. That all kind of came crumbling down during COVID. So I moved home and then I just saved up money from my old job and unemployment, and I just kind of saved it all up to move back to the city the first thing in 2021, which then I got my job with my current survival job. But I
Which
still have
was?
one. I work as a financial advisor assistant.
Oh, wow. That's
I know.
good. Give me more
Fancy.
money, right? But okay, did you ever say, this is not going to happen? I'm not going to have this career.
It's really funny. I went home a few weeks before, I think actually 2 weeks before I got my audition for Pretty Woman. And I went back to my parents. I was like, it's been 3 years. I feel like I should start looking at maybe grad school, maybe teaching, like so like still auditioning, but like looking towards something else in the future because it feels like it's such a long shot. And then a few weeks later, I got the audition for Pretty Woman. Yeah, it was very serendipitous.
Well, then see, it's meant to be and you have to keep pushing it,
Yeah,
right? Well,
yeah.
great good luck. I'm excited to see your Pretty Woman.
Thank you. What show
And
are you thinking?
I sure hope that right after it, it's even better.
Thank you.
So great good luck, and I appreciate it. Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much. I appreciate you taking the time to talk.